Where'd Spider-Wars go? Spider-Wars! Come out and play!
Tag! Holy shit! Whoa, my god. Okay, Now that was violent. Anyways, welcome back, true believers and spectacular Spidey fans, to another infectious installment of Radioactive Review for Spider-Man 3, the video game, the series in which I review all previous Spider-Man games after I complete my Radioactive replay for each one of them. And if you did miss it, I have done Radioactive reviews already for Spider-Man Web of Shadows, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, The Amazing Spider-Man 1, and Spider-Man Edge of Time, so you can definitely go check all those out. I'll leave all of them in the description below. I had a lot of fun reviewing those games, and now I am here reviewing Spider-Man 3, the video game. And if you have already seen, though, I have started my Radioactive replay for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I've been working very hard on this specific review because, as you see from the title, I am going to bring up a lot of different discussion points if this game may be better, if not as good, as Spider-Man 2, the video game. If you want me to do the same thing in regards to the movie, I can do that, but mainly we're talking about the video game today, and we'll see what happens in the future. Because I personally really do like this game, and I really like the movie as well. Of course, in the movies aspect, Spider-Man 2 is obviously much better than Spider-Man 3. But in regards to the game, we'll see. We'll see. Now, before I begin my review, everybody, I want to give a lot of quick shout-outs to the one and only ANDREXMAN. Please go follow him on Twitter. He is one of the most talented individuals that I've ever had the honor of getting to know. He did all of those thumbnails from the bottom of his heart, and I didn't even ask him to do it. He just did because of how amazing he is. And ANDREXMAN, if you are watching, they are beautiful, dude. Every single one of them was gorgeous. Thank you so much for doing that for me. It means the entire world to me. And keep doing what you're doing, man. You are incredibly awesome. And everyone, please, if you are watching this, please go and follow him on Twitter. It would mean the world to him and me as well. And he is just flat out incredible. Next up, I want to give a really awesome shout out to the one and only Ricky Franklin. Again, he is another awesome graphic designer, and he made this awesome custom Radioactive Replay logo just for me. Again, I didn't even ask him to do that. He just did because of how incredible he is. I've been using them recently in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I used them all in Edge of Time, and also in The Amazing Spider-Man 1 Radioactive Replays, and it is just gorgeous. Ricky, if you are watching, dude, it means the world to me. Thank you so much. I couldn't do it without you or ANDREXMAN'S help, and you make the series as awesome as it is, and as fun for me to do it as it is, because I love showcasing your awesome work in my videos that I do, and without either of your guys' help, I couldn't make it without you guys, so thank you so much. Now, the next thing I want to bring up, guys, is actually the behind-the-scenes interviews that I did upload on my YouTube channel for Spider-Man 3, the video game. If you guys didn't see it, in the collector's edition of Spider-Man 3, if you do have it, which, yes, believe it or not, there is a collector's edition, it comes with 7 separate interviews in regards to the cast members of Spider-Man 3, the movie, being interviewed about the game. And it's a really cool conversation, everybody. Again, this was a really interesting time when this game did in fact come out. This was the very first Spider-Man game ever made to come out on the PS3/Xbox 360 era of consoles, and that's why when they were interviewing all the cast members like Tobey Maguire, James Franco, J.K. Simmons, Bruce Campbell, Topher Grace, Thomas Hayden Church, even Avi Arad, when they were talking about how crazy the game looks and how unique it is and how much of a different game it is compared to the other two Raimi Spider-Man games that did come out in the past, it was because of how it was a really unique situation for a Spider-Man game to be the very first Spider-Man game to come out ever is a movie tie-in game, and they were really honored to be part of this project. They were really honored to try and make this game for the fans and just for the movie lovers in general, and I really did like all these interviews. If you haven't seen them, please go watch them. Leave the playlist in the description so you can go check them out, but please, they're a really good insight in regards to how they feel about the game and why the game itself is a really unique one at that. Now, before I even fully review everybody, I just want to kind of give you my thoughts and feelings and just what I'm really thinking overall in regards to this game specifically. Now, this game, again, was made in 2007 by Treyarch and Activision. A year later, we also had Spider-Man Web of Shadows, which you guys don't know is my favorite Spider-Man game of all time, is in fact Spider-Man Web of Shadows. Now, if Spider-Man 3, the video game, did not release, Spider-Man Web of Shadows would not exist, which is why I have a major soft spot for this game, and also why you can see in Web of Shadows a lot of features in that game are actually inspired and taken from Spider-Man 3, which is actually pretty awesome. And again, this game came out in 2007. I was 9 years old at the time, and when the black suit was in the movie and the game, I was just beyond excited, because again, the black suit Spider-Man is my favorite incarnation of Spider-Man, just, you know, my favorite story arc of Spider-Man, where he gets the black suit and becomes evil, and the whole dynamic of what the black suit's supposed to represent and what really showcased it well in the game and also a little bit in the movie. But mainly, I just love everything about the black suit, and that's why in this game, I had a blast playing as black suited Spider-Man and normal Spider-Man. And this was the very first ever Spider-Man game, oddly enough, where you could actually play as black suited Spider-Man. Now, in previous Spider-Man games, we did in fact have symbiote Spider-Man / black suit Spider-Man as a skin or a costume that you could wear as just a costume for how it looks in the game. But this, if you think about it, is actually the very first ever Spider-Man game where you could play as black suited Spider-Man with actual powers that go with the suit. In Ultimate Spider-Man, you could play as Venom, and you could play as black suited Spider-Man as the skin, but it didn't do anything. It was just a skin or a costume. This, if you think about it, is the very first Spider-Man game that we have ever had where you can actually play as black suited Spider-Man as a character with powers that are different from the standard red and blue Spider-Man, which is actually really cool when you think about it. And another thing, guys, is please, I urge you to please replay this game. If you have never played this game, or if you just haven't played it in a while, I highly urge you to replay it again, and it is not as bad as you think. Again, even though I love Web of Shadows, this was the most fun Radioactive replay I've ever done, even though I've only done 4, or currently I'm doing 5, but since I've only completed 4 separate Spider-Man games, I had the most fun doing this one. It was such a nostalgia trip for me. I had a ton of fun. All you guys really seemed to like it a lot, and all of the support that you gave me when I was replaying it means the world to me, so I have to say thank you for that. And your support, again, makes this series continue, makes me want to keep doing more episodes and more Radioactive reviews for you guys, and without you guys, this series wouldn't be possible, so again, I say thank you. Now, if you guys don't know how Radioactive Review works, how I like to do it is I like to go over everything in regards to a Spider-Man game. I like to go over the story, I like to go over the graphics, the soundtrack, which is a thing that I really do appreciate in video games, is actually the soundtrack of the video game, go over its main pros, its main cons, go over the best moment or moments in the game and the worst moment or moments in the game, and then offer it my overall score. Now, to begin with the story of the game. So again, this is a movie tie-in game. So, really interestingly, this game actually does a really good job of following the movie it's based off of, Spider-Man 3 the movie, and the game actually does a really good job. Spider-Man's just being Spider-Man. As Toby says in the beginning of the game, it's just another day in the life of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and since it's a game and not a movie, obviously they have to make the game longer than the movie. Now the game does a really interesting thing where it expands on what the movie did, and they have gangs in the city. They have lots of new gangs that are coming in the city, and you, as Spider-Man, have to stop these gangs from making it worse. And we also get a lot of cool appearances from really famous Spider-Man villains like the Lizard, Kingpin, Kraven, and of course we have the black suit in the mix, which makes it a really interesting and fun time. And if you count the specific amount of stories that are in this game has a total of 10 storylines, including that of the main movie, and you can do it however you want. You have your free range of choosing what order you want to do the missions in. You can either do it only in the order that you want to, or you can do one mission, stop it, and go to a different story, and then go back and continue another mission, which is what I really like about the game. It offers you a lot of choice and a lot of different options that you have within the main beginning of the game, oddly enough, and actually continues that when you keep playing it throughout the middle and also near the end, which is a really, really cool feature that I do like in the game, is a lot of option in regards to what missions you want to do in the story. Now, next up is the graphics of this game. So once again, this was the very first ever Spider-Man game to in fact come out in the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. So, the graphics were okay for its time. Since it was a new console that these developers had to deal with, they had to kind of aspect more on the graphics rather than gameplay, or gameplay rather than graphics, and you can see that in certain places. But, however, I will say the city looks very nice in the game, with the lighting when it's at nighttime or daytime, and also with a really lively amount of people. There's actually quite a lot of people in New York City, and a lot of cars as well. When you're hustling and bustling trying to swing through the city, you'll see lots of stuff going on, and I actually really do appreciate that, and I think it's actually a really unique way on how Treyarch handled it within this game. And again, since it's a movie tie-in game, they try and get the characters to look like their respective actors, so Peter Parker looks like Tobey Maguire, Harry Osborn looks like James Franco, and so on. So that's a nice little detail that they added within this game. Now, another point is actually the soundtrack. I don't care what anyone says. This is one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in any Spider-Man game. Each individual gang that is in this game has a unique soundtrack to it. Whenever you hear a certain tone or tune that plays when you're just swinging through the city, and you see a side mission pop up on screen, and you hear like 3 little bells, and it's like, oh, that's the Arsenic Candy gang, or when you hear like some drums, like, oh, that's the Dragon Tail gang. So it's a really cool, unique soundtrack. Each character as well has a unique soundtrack. Kingpin, Kraven, Lizard, all the gangs, Black Suit and Red Suit Spider-Man have totally different soundtracks when you're swinging through the city, as well as when you're fighting enemies, and when you're just standing still doing nothing in the city. Each different Spider-Man has a really unique soundtrack tailored to him, and it's really cool, as well as I think the soundtrack may be on par, if not better, than the movie soundtrack. Again, I keep going back and forth. Do I like the black suit theme from the movie more or the game more? The game's theme for the black suit is incredible, and I love every single moment of it, and it's just awesome. Really cool soundtracks when you're just doing side missions or main missions. It goes from epic to really rock and roll to kind of, you know, dramatic and intense. So it's a really good mix of like rock and roll, drama, and also a little bit of, not dubstep, but kind of like techno pop. A lot of different genres in this soundtrack. It's really, really unique and interesting in how they did that as well. So if you guys know me, I like to start off with the cons and then move on to the pros. However, if you guys know me, there have been occasions where I do in fact start off with the pros and then move on to the cons because of how many cons I do have. But since my entire Radioactive replay was me basically praising this game, I thought it would only be fitting if I do in fact start off with the cons and then move on to the pros. So don't worry if it sounds like I'm bashing on this game. Now, the first con I do in fact have with the game is the cast's voice acting. Now, again, even though this is a movie tie-in game and it's really great that they got a big majority of the actors from the movie to voice their own characters in the game, sometimes some of the voice cast will sound like that they're having a really fun time or that they're just tired and want to go home. So it's like it's on and off again. J.K. Simmons, though, does a great job. Bruce Campbell as the narrator is fantastic. Toby, you know, he's on and off again. I think he's pretty good. Same thing with how he was in the Spider-Man 2 game. In that game, even, he was kind of, you know, tired at times, or he didn't sound as enthusiastic and energetic. And then this, it's like the same thing. He's either really devoted to the role or just kind of tired. So it's like, it's on and off, but I do like it. It's okay. But still, like, it goes back and forth from being pretty good to not as good. Next up is actually the difficulty of the game. Now, while this game does have no difficulty setting, it's really strange because you play as both Black Suit and Red Suit Spider-Man, and when you're playing the game, the upgrade system is very different, which I'm going to bring up soon. But when you play the game, sometimes you'll feel like it's extremely easy, and then there's other times, specifically the one fight in your Red Suit Spider-Man fighting all these lizards trying to attack you in the sewers when you're trying to cure them. That part is impossible. When you play it the first time, it's super hard. So it goes back and forth from being a really easy game, kind of average, and really challenging. So it's a really uneven difficulty setting that doesn't really tailor to any one specific difficulty. It's all over the place. So it's really kind of strange on how they handled that main difficulty in this game. Now, next up is the brightness. Now, even though this game on the Xbox 360 looks very good in its default setting, I was playing this game on my PS3, and I did notice when I was in the sewers swinging through in the default brightness setting that I did have, some of the interiors were very dark. It's like so dark I could barely see where I was going. So the lighting in the game when you're inside the sewers is really, really dark, but when you're outside in the city, it looks actually pretty nice. A small con there. Now, next up is the swinging, sort of. Now, what I mean by that is this swinging is really good in the sense that it does in fact stick to buildings, and it's pretty darn fast, which I will show you guys soon. But mainly when you're swinging around, the momentum doesn't feel like it continuously builds up. It feels like you go, you're a little bit fast, then you stop, then you go again, and it's this weird kind of clunky way of swinging. Again, if you know how to use the sprint button properly and the charge jump button and the way in how you can also dual swing, it's a really cool system of how to traverse around the city. However, when you actually have the web stick to buildings and then swing in a really fast way or a really slow way, it doesn't feel like the physics is there. It's a bit off. It's still really good, but not as good, obviously, as Spider-Man 2. Next up are the QuickTime Events. Now, again, half of a con here because of how the QuickTime Events sometimes are too quick. I know that could just mean saying, oh, Evan, you're just bad at the game, but if you guys saw, I only messed up on the New Goblin QuickTime Event in my Radioactive replay. All the other ones I did fine on, but when you do in fact play the game the first time, it's very, very intense when you do in fact do some of the QuickTime Events. Some of the QuickTime Events will give you a nice amount of time to try and see what buttons you have to press. Other times they're extremely quick, specifically the Sandman fight when you play it the first time, it's really quick, as well as the table with Kingpin, as well as, of course, the New Goblin QuickTime Event at the end of the game. And, you know, some of them are very evenly matched, others are really fast, so it's an uneven amount of skill and speed that they offer with the QuickTime Events in the game. Now, next up is minor glitches. Again, since this was the very first ever Spider-Man game to come out on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, obviously you're going to experience some glitches. And specifically, the one I experienced was if you saw when I was chasing Scorpion, Spider-Man just slides across the street and just kind of ignores what's going on with Scorpion, so it's really, really strange. That's the only glitch that I really focused on in the game that I noticed. The other ones, some people say that they got stuck inside buildings and in walls, but I didn't experience anything like that. And yeah, again, it's just for the time of when the game was released. and just how it was structured overall when they were developing the game. Now, this is a personal con of mine, is that there's no upgrade system. So what I mean by that is when you progress through the game, when you complete a mission, each time you do in fact complete a mission, you in fact get a new upgrade for Spider-Man to use when fighting. And it could either be an aerial upgrade, a special move, or even something with swinging, which is really cool. However, you don't get to buy upgrades like in Spider-Man 2 or Web of Shadows. You can only get the upgrades when you in fact do beat missions, and that's personally something that I don't like. I like it where you get to buy upgrades and feel like you are earning some skill points and experience points in order to buy the skills that you want, whereas if there's no upgrade menu and you just get the upgrades as the story progresses, I personally don't like that, but it's not bad, it's just I just don't like how it is personally. Now, next up is actually the movie errors that we do have with this game. Again, this is a movie tie-in game, and usually with what movie tie-in games do, they follow all the aspects of the movie. In this game, though, we have no Gwen Stacy storyline in the game, so we don't get Captain Stacy, her dad, or actually Gwen Stacy in this game, because if you guys forgot, Gwen Stacy was in Spider-Man 3, and in this game, Gwen Stacy's not in it, she's not even mentioned once. That kind of, takes away from the whole Eddie Brock storyline of the game, and with no Gwen Stacy also showing the more evil side of Peter, it kind of takes away from some aspects of the game, but it's not too bad. The other thing is that there's no Aunt May. Again, the storyline with Aunt May having Peter become Spider-Man near the end of the movie, and her kind of knowing about him being Spider-Man, and also just, Peter wanting to marry Mary Jane. That's not really in the story as well in this game. And it also goes with Sandman. Again, that's another thing, is that Sandman in the movie killed Uncle Ben. In this game, they don't show that. It just shows Peter one night, he's just, thinking about Uncle Ben's killer, and then he just sees Sandman, and he goes after him in the subway. There's no real understanding or explanation on why Peter decides to go after Sandman, because they don't showcase that, Sandman killed Uncle Ben in the movie, and that's why he has to go after him in the game. So again, because it's a really long and complex movie, they obviously can't fit everything with that in the game, but still, the fact that it is a movie time game, they didn't involve those specific parts of the movie. It's not sad, it's just, just a little flaw that it does have. Now, the worst moment of this game, hands down, goes to the lingering frames and frame rate that this game has. And this goes for every console. It goes for the PS3, Xbox 360. Since this was the very first Spider-Man game to come out on the Xbox 360 and PS3, the frames are atrocious in this game, especially when you're swinging around. The frames will go really, really fast or really, really slow, and also when you're in cutscenes, it will really oddly transition from one part of the frame when it's focusing on Spider-Man and a villain, and then it will oddly kind of jank to one specific frame and then go back to it, and you might think, that's just how the editing is, but no, it's actually how they worked in the cutscenes and also certain parts of the gameplay as well, and it looks really strange. It kind of takes your immersion out of it when you are playing this game, when the frames are going very slow, and that's obviously the worst part of the game, hands down. Now, with all the cons out of the way, everybody, we are now going to move on with the pros, and the very first pro that I do have with this game is that it does follow the movie pretty well, and the cool thing about that is that there are twists from this movie into the game. So, for example, in the movie, Eddie Brock tries to frame Peter Parker with actually taking a Photoshop image of Spider-Man and just making him in the black suit to make it look like Spider-Man robbed a bank. In the game, Eddie hires some friend of his dressing up as Spider-Man who's super fat, and he goes in this alleyway and tries to frame Spider-Man in a really hilarious looking way. I know it may seem cheesy, but I actually do really find it funny and hilarious. And the other main one, of course, is in the final fight of the game. In the movie, of course, Eddie is fighting Spider-Man in the construction site, and then Peter throws a pumpkin bomb into the symbiote, and then Eddie goes and jumps into the symbiote, sacrificing himself because he wants to be with the symbiote, because he loves the power and it makes him happy. In the game, holy shit! Whoa, my god, okay, yeah, that's what happens in the game. And I absolutely love that. I think it's more gruesome than what happened in the movie, which is actually pretty darn cool that the game has a more intense way of having Venom be killed off than in what it showed in the movie, which I think is really cool in how Treyarch did that, and that they are allowed to do that anyways. Now, the next pro I do have is the city. This city is huge, vibrant, and definitely well detailed. Again, this is the main city in any Spider-Man game that actually allows you to go within the sewers and the subways of New York City. You can even visit them whenever you want when free roaming. After you even beat the game, you can go back and enter the subway, swing down there if you want to, and enter back inside. You can even enter like Grand Central Station if you want to when you're not doing anything in the game. It's really cool, and even though there's no one in Grand Central Station, it's cool that you have the ability to enter buildings like that. Same thing with the city. Again, like I said earlier, this city is huge. You have a lot of cars going about their business. There's one specific scene when I was giving MJ a thrill ride. There's a lot of cars down the city street, as you can see in this one image right here. There are so many cars in this one little traffic jam, and there's also quite a few people in the New York City streets when you are in fact swinging or just doing nothing. It's really well detailed, and that also goes with the seamless day-nighttime cycle. Again, Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 are the only free-roaming Spider-Man games that do in fact have a seamless day-nighttime cycle like Grand Theft Auto does, where you don't have to load a certain time of day. The days will just go by as it is. Even if you stand still and do nothing, it could go from daytime to sunset time to nighttime and so on, and it's really, really cool that they actually put that feature in the game. Now, a really cool feature about this game is that the side missions are extremely well detailed and thorough in regards to how they operate. So, you can do infinite side missions in the game by either stopping cars or just random muggings in the street. However, when you first start the game and you haven't beaten it yet, there will be these little mini side missions that happen that you do in the game that actually offer a really cool, intricate way of doing things in the city that offer really cool mini action set pieces in the game. One standout one is that you just go about your day, and then all of a sudden there's this Dragon Tail gang that hijack a helicopter, and you go and have to chase after the helicopter. There's also tons of stuff to do with that. The Daily Bugle, take photos for Robbie Robertson. Even though there's not that many missions of it, it's still a really cool set of side missions that you can do. And as well, you can also go and fight arsenic candy girls that are holding up a art dealer, and then you have to go and save his art and take it back to his store. Also, with the Apocalypse gang, you have to go and do a manhunt of different individual Apocalypse thugs throughout New York City. It's a really cool way that they handled side missions in this game, and it offers, again, the vastness of New York City. You can do things in the city. You can also do it when you are just trying to do story missions or just swinging around. It could happen at any time, and it's really, really cool that they, in fact, did that in the game. And another pro is all the other activities you can do after you do all the side missions. Again, there's races, there's skydiving, which is really cool, there's combat tours, and there are bomb tours in the city. And again, that offers tons of options you can do and try and beat your score at a race. You can do skydiving, which is actually really cool, just free falling in the skyline above New York City. It's awesome. Bomb tours, of course, if you actually like defusing bombs in the game. You can do tons of tours, just defusing all different types of bombs. And of course, combat tours like an Ultimate Spider-Man, just fight criminals in the streets, and it's really, really fun. Now, another pro of the game is in fact the two different suits. Again, just like Web of Shadows, you have the option to wear the red suit or the black suit. Now, sadly, you can't switch between them at will when you want to. You can either choose to be in the red suit full-time or the black suit full-time, and it offers a really huge different amount of variety when playing the game. Instantly, when you get the black suit, you feel totally different. You are way faster, you are much stronger. Even Spider-Man looks more vicious. The way he runs and the way that he stands still, he continuously is angry, he's more ferocious, and definitely more aggressive when fighting enemies in the streets. And also when he swings around, he also looks more menacing. And that's really cool, that they added that much detail in just playing as black suit Spider-Man in the game. And it goes a long way as well when you are in fact just swinging around the city or fighting bad guys. Now, another pro that I have is the QuickTime Events. Like I said earlier, even though the QuickTime Events are sometimes too quick and a bit complicated, they are very cinematic. And the reason why Treyarch wanted to do this is because, again, this is a movie tie-in game, and they wanted to feel like you are in a simulation of the movie. Like you want to feel like you are in this movie world, and that's why the QuickTime Events offer that really well when doing things like swinging through the sewers or trying to fight a bunch of lizards or actually fighting a boss. It's really cool because of how these QuickTime Events offer a really cinematic showcasing of Spider-Man swinging, fighting enemies, doing some really cool moves that you couldn't do if you just played the game in a standard way, whereas the QuickTime Events, they offer that showcase in a really awesome way. My favorite one has to go to the Sandman fight, of course, but I'm going to bring that up later. But anyways, the Sandman fight and all the other QuickTime Events where you do it with different bosses are really, really fun. Now, another pro is, in fact, the traversal that this game has. Again, you have so many different methods of traversal in this game, oddly enough. You have standard swinging, you have dual swinging, you have air tricks, which, again, are very, very helpful. You have the ability to wall run and yo-yo on ceilings of buildings, which is immensely fun to do. anytime. You can also use this as a stealth mechanic to kind of sneak around certain interior areas of the game, and also pole swinging on lampposts anytime you wish. It's really fun. If you use all these methods of traversal together, it actually does quite a unique way to get around town. And of course, for those of you who think that this swinging is extremely slow, you may have already seen this video that I posted, but just take a look at this video right here. Of course, thanks to the one and only Godzilla Mendoza for letting me do this.
Want to be able to gauge the quality of a Spider-Man game? Look for two things. How does Central Park look? How long does it take you to swing all the way to the top of the Empire State Building? Web zips permitted, no wall crawling. Just time it. Good Lord, that long.
Challenge accomplished.
You serious?
I rest my case, if I do say so myself. Now, the next pro I do have is that the webs stick to buildings. Awesome. Just like Spider-Man 2, this game doesn't break any physics. You can't swing over Central Park. You can't swing above the Empire State Building. The webs do in fact stick to buildings, and that's just really cool detail that Treyarch put in this game. Now, another pro is the combat. I think the combat's pretty darn fun. Even though it is, when you think about it, simply button mashing, you have a lot of variety of combos. You can do it in the air. You can do a lot of mix and mash of buttons if you press them a different way to execute actual intense moves that deal more damage. And once again, when you're in the black suit, the moves become way more aggressive. There's one scene in the game where I am fighting all the Arsenic Candy Girls in the church when their leader is trying to get married, and I took out, I would say, about 10 gang members with one single punch, and that is insane. When you're in the black suit, you're more aggressive, more ferocious, more intense, more damaging. In the red suit, you're more flexible, you're more angelic looking, you're more agile, and you look really, really cool when pulling off all these unique moves when fighting enemies. Now, another pro that I do have is that when you're actually swinging around in the black suit, people will be afraid of you. People in the streets, if you do in fact fight enemies, will actually run away in fear instead of cheering for you, and that goes the same thing when you actually do fight enemies. When you do fight enemies in the black suit, they'll actually cower in fear in the corner and actually try and run away from Spider-Man, and that's a really cool feature that they add in this game. Which brings me to my second to last pro of the game, is that there's so many different gangs in this game. It's crazy. That's one of the best parts of the game too, is that there is so many unique and awesome gangs that actually offer quite a lot of challenging variety in the game as well. When you fight Arsenic Candy, they're more agile and quick and also have a lot of lighter attacks. When you fight Dragon Tail thugs, they're more agile and can easily dodge your attacks with Kung Fu moves. Apocalypse gangs are just standard thugs, they're easy. You can fight the mini lizard guys from Dr. Connors, which is really cool, and of course, the one and only Mad Bomber gang, who are actually pretty darn hard to take out when you do just find them walking around the streets and you fight them, and they offer a lot of variety when in fact fighting enemies, and it's really, really cool that you can do that and see the vast amount of enemies that can be in this one game, in a movie tie-in game nonetheless. So that's actually really cool. And of course, the last pro that I do have is New Game Plus. Once you beat the game, you can do it all over again in the black suit, and that's just an awesome feature to have, because you can replay the scenes that you usually did have in the red suit and just do it again in the black suit, already starting off with all your upgrades. Look even more menacing when you do all the other QuickTime events with the red suit, and it's just awesome. Now, everybody, we are going to get to the best moments of this game, and the first one I do have is that the movie cast. Again, for a movie tie-in game, it is absolutely important to always get the movie cast to voice their respective characters. Again, we got Toby as Peter, James as Harry, JK as JJ, Bruce Campbell as the narrator, Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman, Topher Grace as Venom, and yeah, it's really, really cool. Sadly, though, they didn't get Kristen Dunst as Mary Jane, but still, for a movie tie-in game, this cast is very, very impressive to have, and it's just a really cool feature that they did have put into this game. The second best moment that I do have is both boss fights with Sandman and Kingpin. Specifically, the first boss fight with Sandman in the train, because that was easily the best part of the movie when Black Suit Spider-Man is fighting Sandman in the train, and they did a perfect job recreating that scene in the video game, and it's way more fun because you can actually crash Sandman into the train like you did in the movie, and you can also execute the scene in the movie where Spider-Man is swinging underneath the train railway, and you can do all these cool QuickTime events with him. You can use the rage mode, and just experiencing the black suit for the very first time in the game when in fact fighting Sandman in the game as part of the movie, how they showcase that, it's really cool. And same thing with Kingpin. When Kingpin happens as Black Suit Spider-Man, that's where you're about to lose the black suit, and it's like one of your last missions that you do have in the black suit, and it's just a really cool mission overall. The music, the setting, the way that Kingpin, you actually get to fight him in a really cool way, the music, it's just really cool, and I do love that part of the game. Another best moment is actually the Scorpion story arc of the game. Scorpion is one of the best characters in this game by far, and he's not even a movie tie-in character, he's just a character in this game, and his story is very compelling. The music with him is like the best part of the music in this game by far, is Scorpion's theme song, chasing him through the city, doing this crazy mission inside of a robot facility, fighting him on a bridge, dodging all these crazy cars while trying to go after him. It's a really cool mission, and both missions where you get to chase him and fight alongside of him when you're fighting Rhino is actually really darn cool. And now, everybody, the absolute best moment, hands down, of this game is the black suit. The music for it, epic. The way that you fight enemies, vicious. The way that you swing around, super fast. And just the way that it looks, of course, is awesome. And again, that's the main feature of this game, is in fact the black suit. Now, even though you do get it like halfway plus into the game, it's really, really cool once you do get it, because you feel like that it's paid off playing this game that far, and once you do get it, you don't want to let it go because of how fun it is. And again, since you can in fact play the game again in New Game Plus, that just gives you another reason to keep playing this game. Overall, guys, like I said, this game is really, really fun. I really, really like it. Again, this might just be my nostalgia talking with all the pros that I listed, but this game, when I was a kid, gave me a lot of joy, and I had a really fun time replaying it for all you guys. And again, since you guys know me, I don't like giving half scores. However, I would be an exception for this game because I want to give this game a 7.5 out of 10, but like I said, I don't like giving half scores, so I'm going to have to round it up and give it a solid 8 out of 10. Again, I highly urge that you do in fact replay this game for yourself. Don't listen to anyone reviewing it who hates it. It's a really good time, and I actually really do like it. Again, I gave Shattered Dimensions an 8 out of 10 as well, but again, that is a linear Spider-Man game compared to a free-roaming Spider-Man game. And again, since it was the very first Spider-Man game to come out on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, for what they had to work with, I am very impressed by it, and I really did like what they did, and I really, really do like this game. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. This review took a lot of time to do. I know it's very long, and I highly apologize for that, but if you did watch it throughout the entire way, I thank you, and I can't wait to do another Radioactive review for The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which you will see a sneak peek of right now. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.